Excel has changed dramatically and offers far richer functionality than before. In this video, I like to show you 5 modern Excel functions that I think are amazing. These minimize errors and are scalable as your data grows. Let me show you how I like to use them for analyzing data. We have the sales data for 20 products. I have saved this data as an Excel table or a structured reference. This table is called sales. Let's look at the first function, filter. The first example is a standard user filter. We want to display all the products from the product category electronics. Filter, array is the table sales, and we want to include all items where the sales category is electronics. And we get the result. Let's look at extending this example now. We will now filter all line items where the category is electronics and March sales are more than 200. So essentially we have two conditions now. Filter, array is the sales table. We write each criteria in a pair of brackets. Sales category is equal to electronics. Star and March sales is greater than 200. And we get the result. The filter function is great as it automatically updates the result when the source data changes. Let's look at the next function. The function we will use is unique. Let's start by looking at a basic use of this function, unique, and we want to return the unique values for the category column in the sales table. And we get the values. However, now let's take this further. I'm going to write a formula where we can get the unique category items and their counts dynamically. I'm going to write let's create a variable called categories, and we will capture the unique categories like we did earlier. Let's define a new variable called counts. Now to define counts, I'm going to write a map function. Map will perform these calculations for each unique category item. Therefore, let me write categories for array. Lambda to define the calculation, map categories to variable cat, and the calculation will be countIfS. Criteria range is the category column from the sales table, and the range is cat. Close the brackets for countIfS, lambda, and map. Now we need to return the categories and their count. Therefore, hstack categories and counts. Close the brackets, and we get the unique categories and their count. Now, as we add more to the original table, the list of unique categories and their counts updates automatically. So we've seen 4 functions already: filter, unique, let, and map. Let's look at the fifth one now, XLOOKUP. First, a common use of XLOOKUP. I will return all the details for the products with the ID P008. XLOOKUP, lookup value is A4. Lookup array is product ID column from the sales table. And we return all columns from product name to March sales. And there it is, we get all the values by writing just one XLOOKUP. Now let's look at using XLOOKUP to calculate total sales for a few products. I will start with map. Since we want to calculate the total units sold for 2 products, I will provide the range as A12 to A13. Let's write lambda. Let's map A12 to A13 as product ID. I'm going to define sales data, which will contain the units sold values from January to March for each product ID. I will use XLOOKUP here. Lookup value is the product ID. Lookup array is the product ID from the sales table. And return the sales from January to March. let me expand the formula bar for you to see it clearly. Add the data in sales data. This gives us the total sales for all the products listed. So these are the 5 modern functions which I use consistently in my analysis. Now on to a very interesting application of some of these functions. I have the list of all the product IDs and I want to find out how well they have performed. This is the criteria that we will follow. Since we want to evaluate this criteria for all the product IDs, we will use the map function. Next, I will define the lambda and map the values to variable product ID. I will use let as I will define a few variables. The first variable is row num. We will match the variable product ID with the column product ID. This will return values 1, 2, 3 till 20. The next variable is sales data, which is for the sales for each product ID. Let's use index to get row by row sales for all 3 months of sales. Let's get the price now, which is in a single column. Now that we've got all the data, let's define the performance function using lambda. We will pass the sales range, that is the sales value for 3 months and the product price. Using let's define the total sales. From the total sales, we can get the average monthly sales. And the revenue, which is total sales into price. Now I'm going to define the 3 conditions. Close the bracket for let and lambda. Now all that is left is to call the function and pass the variables sales data and price to them. Close the remaining brackets. You get the performance description for all the product IDs in one go. So as you can see, the power these new functions have is immense. And in case you like to create automated worksheets where you don't need to repeatedly update formulas as you add to them, then these are the functions to use. And if automation is of interest to you, then you can look at my course Magic Reports. In this course, I show you how to create reports in bulk or reports that you create repeatedly using simple Excel automation. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching.